SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Hey, good morning. Middle of the week, mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Streaming online at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, and also available on the go to you with the SuperTalk Mississippi app. What's going on this morning? Thanks for being with us. C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. You ever have that feeling first thing in the morning, you wake up, and when you open your mouth to talk for the very first time, you're not sure exactly what's going to come out? Not sure exactly how it's going to sound. Sometimes it's that deep, raspy voice, and sometimes you just kind of croak when you... That may have been when I said good morning. Well, I said good morning to Lance earlier before we came on. Very limited words this morning since I got up. And I wasn't entirely sure what was going to come out of my mouth there, Lance, when I said good morning.
Yeah, I have to talk to my dogs for a bit, and the cats get going. Put a couple pieces of gum in, chew fast, and I'm ready to go. I have a little ritual. If I don't have my gum for about the first 3 or 4 minutes before we go on air, I feel kind of like I've missed something.
Really
get in a habit, right? Yeah. So I always got to have a Mentos green, the winter green, 2 of those. And that loosens me up, gets me going.
Okay.
Yeah. I told Paul that, and he started doing it. And he was like, man, this stuff's here is hot, man. Talking about the gum. It's like, that stuff's hot. But yeah, it gets me going. It kind of gets the lungs working right. But I'm like you. I don't say much until I get on air, so I don't really encounter a lot other than the animals. So, yeah, sometimes you wonder what the voice is going to sound like.
Well, and then maybe I should, do the voice exercises. Have to get out of the house. I don't want to wake anybody up with that. But it's like, Mama made me mash my M&Ms.
That's one I would not be able to pull off.
You can do Mama made me mash my M&Ms or red leather, yellow leather. Okay.
What is there any ritual that you go through before you
drink coffee?
I mean, not in the morning. I mean, like when you have a 6-hour day of football or basketball, do you have a ritual? I mean, as an ex-athlete, I always did things exactly the same way before a contest of some sort, and I still have that kind of crazy, habit mindset.
I do not. I really don't.
You're just.
I mean, I'm sorry that I don't have a better answer for you on that, but
you're not. Superstitious.
Not really. I mean, when I was, playing high school football, I would wear the same undershirt for every game, but it wasn't like I'm wearing the same undershirt, but you can't wash it.
Yeah.
And kind of get dressed in the same order. And looking back at that, I'm like, I wore double socks. Why did I do that?
Yeah, I know. I look back on those things a lot and remember how crazy those little things were, the little ticks.
Yeah. But they were. Yeah, and they were fun. A lot of fun at the time. Any rain in your area this morning?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're hoping for it, I think. The percentage points have been climbing over the last few days, so we'll definitely get there. 30% chance tomorrow, I know, around the Delta. And so that's kind of been moving around a little bit. By the time you get to Thursday, today is about 20%. Tomorrow will be about 90%. So in between today and tomorrow, I think it's going to hit.
That is a pretty significant jump in the percentage.
Well, you got a lot of wind, too. It goes from nothing to 20, 25 miles an hour, and that's going to blow it in.
Yeah. Up in DeSoto County, Horn Lake, you've got rain showers early this morning, overcast skies later in the day with a high of 54. Winds out of the south, southeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. About a 40% chance of rain for you today. Louisville going to be cloudy and 62. Winds light and variable. Natchez for you, cloudy, some showers mixed in. 65 for the high today in Natchez with winds, again, light and variable. About a coin flip on the rain today in Natchez. And Picayune, you've got a high of 68. Cloudy with an east wind at 5 to 10. Take a peek at Oxford's forecast for the weekend because you know that Ole Miss has a college football playoff game on Saturday, and this is a forecast that people have been watching for a while, and you look at it and you're like, that can't be right. December 20th, mostly sunny and a high of 65. What? That's it. 65 for the high, 46 for the low. It'll start out cool on Saturday, warm up nicely, and then cool off when the sun goes down. Friday leading into that Saturday, 49 and sunny for a high.
That's football weather.
Man, that's like mid-October football weather. You don't expect to get that in mid-December.
Oh, this is a playoff. It's a first for Ole Miss and Tulane. Yeah. So you got to have great weather for this.
Latest a game has ever been played in football in Oxford. Not that that's surprising, but very, very rare to be doing this. I think, Lance, I got more research to do, but I think there have only been 2 other December regular season games. I think there have been 2 regular season games played in the month of December.
Really?
In 2001, you remember we took a week or 2 off after the September 11th attack.
Okay.
And then they rolled that game to the end of the season. So in 2001, Ole Miss played Mississippi State on Thanksgiving weekend. And then they played Vanderbilt the first week of December. And then 2020, the COVID year, I think we played into December. I'm just doing that from memory, though, so we'll see. Birthdays today. Pope Francis, no longer with us, but the most recent pope. He was the first Jesuit pope. First pope from the Americas. First non-European pope since Syrian Gregory III back in 741. Pope Francis, was from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Boy, we go from never having a pope in the Americas, going 1,300 years without a European pope, and then you go back-to-back South America and North America. Eugene Levy is 79 years old today. He was born on this day, December 17th in 1946. The Canadian comic actor and writer. Perhaps you remember him from American Pie. He was a good character in there.
Oh, yeah. Greatest eyebrows in the history of television and movies.
Yeah.
Hilarious dude.
He was born in Hamilton in Ontario.
Some of the early work he did, I didn't know much about him until I caught him in American Pie growing up, And it's like, who is this guy? And I went back and did some digging around, and, he's hilarious. And some of the early work stuff he does is, just the same. He is the same guy, throughout. That you got to love that about him. He is true to himself, and that is himself, I think he plays himself.
Eyebrows,
yeah, he plays himself.
Voice kind of stilted like Ben Stiller's, a little bit. Manny Pacquiao. How is he only 47? He's only 47 years old today. 1978 is when Pacquiao was born. Filipino boxer. Only fighter in history to win 12 major world titles in 8 different weight divisions and the lineal championship in 5 different weight divisions. He's a dude, man.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the diet you'd have to keep to do that? I mean, the regiment to be able to fight in different weight divisions and not get on that scale and go, oh, you're a pound over. I mean, that's tough, man, because he ain't a big guy.
No, really not. 1791 in New York City, a traffic regulation creates the first one-way street, and people have been honking at each other ever since.
And then the circle came.
Yes. The traffic circle was years down. Roundabouts. That's what we call them here
that's the roundabout.
In the old Oxford. Yeah. Roundabouts followed the one-way street. This day in 1903, 10:35 a.m., it was not a sunny day in North Carolina. Orville Wright pilots the first sustained, powered, and controlled flight on a heavier-than-air aircraft at Kill Devil Hills near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The flight lasted 12 seconds, covered 120 feet, and they had much to celebrate. Mornings with Richard Cross. Oh, yeah, it's a Country Music Wednesday. We're back with you right after this.
He ain't trying to change nobody. He's just trying real hard to adjust.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Got news headlines coming up for you in just a moment. A sports update around the corner as well. Then we'll get your Mississippi Lottery update. Big opportunity if you'd like to play the Powerball today. An opportunity for you to win big. We'll tell you about that in just a bit. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Today in 1935, you had the first flight of the Douglas DC-3. DC-3 airplane.
It's pretty cool. You think about it. We just mentioned the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
The guys that had a bicycle shop figured out flight, roll, pitch, and yaw. That was the big thing that they had to figure out, the axis of, and then you go from there to the big planes. I mean, that's remarkable to me. I don't know how you see it, but
it's absolutely remarkable. And one of my favorite pictures in the Ole Miss football media guide, Langston Rogers had it in there year after year after year, was the Ole Miss football team in taking a flight for one of its games, and this would have been in the 50s, I guess. And it was on a DC-3, and it was that big silver fuselage sitting there on the ramp with the nose tilted way up in the air, and I'm like, man, that was really cool, and that was still relatively new at that point. Houston Astrodome, what was once termed the eighth wonder of the world. 1965 first concert held in the Houston Astrodome. Judy Garland was the headliner. Diana Ross and the Supremes, the opening act. 1984, A Christmas Carol, directed by Clive Donner, starring George Scott, premiered in the United States. American Mafia hitman Richard Kuklinski, arrested at a roadblock on this day in 1986.
Iceman, huh?
Why do I have just some very vague recollection of that?
That dude was a mafia hitman. I mean, he rolled through good knows how many he actually confessed to. I can't remember, but he was just a normal guy, and had the family life and everything and lived the double life. And
then he would sneak out and do a job and come back?
Man, yeah, he did a bunch of jobs.
On this day, in 1989, The Simpsons, created by Matt Groening, premieres on Fox TV as a full animated series with the episode Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Should have been some insight into what was coming. The name of the first episode. I mean, what a iconic brand, too. Goodness gracious.
Dude, we are 36 years later.
That was college. You know, like catching reruns of Wings and making sure that you were available for...
I have not thought of that show in forever. Wings.
Yeah, man, I had to catch all those. I knew those by heart.
Yeah.
And then you had to schedule, what was it? I can't remember what night that Simpsons originally came on, but it was... I mean,
it was Sunday night, wasn't it?
I think, yeah, we would all go eat at the frat house and then all go pile up at one, somebody's house and be like 40 of us in there. Like, we didn't all have a TV, but it was a cultural event. And, a lot of my 20s, especially.
We didn't all have a TV.
No, everybody had a TV in 1998 and 7. I was just saying, everybody piled into like somebody's house.
Okay.
So you could watch it as a group. It was a cultural phenomenon. I don't remember many shows that had that kind of impact on people, in their 20s, and all of a sudden you have 40 people sitting there laughing and drinking beer and having a big time watching The Simpsons. It was huge.
This was a strange day in 2008 when you think about, okay, what's left, what's right, what's up, what's down. United States Senator Joe Lieberman endorsed Republican Senator John McCain for president of the United States. Now, Lieberman later in his career became an independent, but he had been a Democrat before that. I don't know if that was a sign that Joe Lieberman was changing or John McCain was changing, but it was a day where there were a lot of people that kind of raised their eyebrows just a little bit. All right, let's look at some news headlines. And we got stuff going on all over the state of Mississippi, including the Great Mississippi Nature Trail Initiative. The government, along with the governor, along with wildlife officials, on Monday announced the launch of the Great Mississippi Nature Trail, a new initiative designed to connect residents and visitors to natural outdoor spaces throughout the state. They made the announcement at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science during a press conference hosted by Visit Mississippi, MDWFP, and the Commission on Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Governor Reeves unveiled statewide network of outdoor sites highlighting the diverse landscapes of Mississippi. And we there's some really cool sites on the trail. Crosby Arboretum in Picayune, Red Bluff in Foxworth, LaFleur's Bluff State Park in Jackson, Tishomingo State Park up in the northeastern corner of the state, which is just an absolutely gorgeous place.
Got the mountain up there, don't you? Woodall?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I wish
have you been to Red Bluff?
Red Bluff. Where's Red Bluff?
In Foxworth.
I'm not sure about that one. I mean, I've been to Foxworth. I don't know if I've actually been to Red Bluff, though. Been to most of them, most of the state and federal forests. I spent a lot of time in the Holly Springs one up there back in college. What a beautiful place that is. Goodness gracious. You
got Black Creek National Wild and Scenic River, a 21-mile creek that runs through DeSoto National Forest. I won't be honest. There's some things here that I have not seen and have not done, but need to do right here in Mississippi.
Yeah, I was thinking as you went through that, it would be really cool to put that on the list of things you got to do. You got to go to all of them, but it would be really interesting if you could find a way. I love the way they did, what is it, the Tanglefoot Trail up there in New Albany?
Yeah.
What a cool setup where you can just hop on your bike and just go. It would really be neat to see those things connected in a way where if people wanted to do that, get on a bike and go 30 miles and hit 2 or 3 of those things, that would be really neat. Because Mississippi has some absolutely beautiful places.
Man, this is cool. So they've got it broken down. If you go to MississippiNatureTrail.com and then click on Explore the Trail, you can look at it by region. So in the north, They've got the Tanglefoot Trail, the Old Cove. Webster County stands as a picturesque reminder of the region's natural splendor. Hidden Gem features lush woodlands that transform dramatically with each season. Looks like you're hiking through a valley almost. Leetart Nature Preserve and Swamp, Tishomingo State Park, Sam Hamilton Noxubee National Wildlife Refuge, and the Buttahatchee River, all in the north. Buttahatchee River, 125 miles from its rocky headwaters in Alabama to its confluence with the Tin Tom. Means pretty river in Chickasaw.
Oh, nice. It's like Pontotoc means land of the hanging grapes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Central region, you got Providence Hill, gorgeous equestrian facility, LaFleur's Bluff, Dunn's Falls, the Yazoo National Wildlife Refuge, the Delta National Forest. And then in the south, Natchez Trace, Longleaf Trace, Crosby Arboretum, Red Bluff, Clark Creek Natural Area, Clark Cove State Park, the Black Creek National Wild and Scenic River, and then the Gulf and the Davis Bayou.
It's amazing to me that just a handful of people that I would contact or come into contact with in New Albany back when I coached up there. I'd go to that little coffee shop, and there'd be people on their bike coming by, and I'd say, hey, man, what's up? And you'd talk to them. They'd be from Michigan or from California, and they're like, came all the way that place just to take that trail and ride it around. I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. I got a little derailed on that with the news headlines. There's more that we need to talk about, but that one's really cool. So, the trail system in Mississippi, the Nature Trail Initiative. I love it. I really do. Sanderson Farms Championship made it their annual donation to Children's of Mississippi. Century Club Charities, the host organization of the Sanderson Farms Championship, presented Dr. Luann Woodward and the crew at Children's of Mississippi a check for $1 million. That's nearly a decade consecutively in which they have donated $1 million, over $20 million in the life of the campaign. We're back with you right after this.
From the Seabrook.com.
Thanks for listening to SuperTalk Mississippi. Right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
My transistor radio comes from far away. And when it's night over here, over there, it's breaking day. I remember all the good times I had walking in the sand with the beautiful girl that I met made in Japan.
A woman from Texas has been arrested after razor blades were discovered shoved into bakery items at a pair of Walmart stores in Mississippi. That would be at the Walmarts.
Ooh, man.
The Biloxi Police Department announced yesterday evening that they arrested Camille Benson, 33 years old, near Division Street. Benson was charged with attempted mayhem and booked at the Harrison County Adult Detention Center on a $100,000 bond. Her arrest came a day after officers were called to the Walmart's Supercenter on C.T. Switzer Senior Drive and the old neighborhood market on Pass Road regarding customers finding razor blades in loaves of bread. Store employees checked the shelves and found additional loaves that had been tampered with as well. The razor blades had previously been found in bakery items at the same locations on December 5th and 7th, but neither of the early instances was reported to police. Items that had been tampered with included loaves of bread and a banana nut muffin. So they went to the old video surveillance. Apparently Walmart's the Walmarts, with better video surveillance than Brown University. They released photos of a person of interest who turned out to be this woman, Miss Benson. Arrested within hours after the public was asked to help identify her. As of now, no injuries reported. What kind of... Like, is that just a kicks and giggles deal? Is that
you don't want to be on the wrong side of that person.
A gang initiation thing? Is it just an evil in your heart and you want to see others suffer? Is it like... I don't understand the end game on that. And a 33-year-old woman doing this. This is not stupid, silly 14-year-old boys doing this. Or, juniors in high school. Man, wouldn't it be funny? No, it wouldn't be funny. It actually would not. In fact, it might kill someone. Man, that's demented, Lance.
I wouldn't even, what kind of mental problem you got to have. I don't care what initiation or what, goodness gracious, to do that is sick. And I'm just happy that somebody figured it out before someone got hurt.
Yeah. Time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort online. Find them at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is the home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Check them out online, Pearl River Resort. You can book a tee time at dancingrabbitgolf.com. Dancing Rabbit's part of Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort, the presenting sponsor of Sports Talk Mississippi, live from the college football playoff that is coming up this Thursday and Friday. Library on the Square in Oxford. Josh Hubbard went for 34 last night. Jaden Epps scored 20. Mississippi State needed all of them to hold off Long Island for an 87-83 win last night. Excuse me. If you're watching on C-Spire TV, my apologies. Big sneeze there. Mississippi State trailed in this game by 5 with 5 minutes to play. They were down 76-71, but then ripped off an 11-3 lead, took the lead for good with 2 foul shots by Epps, 2:42 remaining in the ball game. Mississippi State now moves to a game over 500 at 6-5 for the year. They travel to Florida International. I'm sorry, that's Long Island. Mississippi State's got Memphis coming in on Saturday. Could be a big one. Memphis Tigers rolling into town. Your, let's see, SEC basketball scores from last night. Ole Miss, by the way, in action tonight. They take on Alabama A&M in Tupelo. So it's one of those kind of home game, neutral court deals. Tennessee was hosting Louisville last night. Tennessee was 7-3 coming into the game. Louisville was 9-1. Tennessee put a wallop on them. Tennessee really, really good in their home building. 83-62 the final. Vols over the Cardinals. Arkansas beat Queens University 108-80. Oklahoma over Kansas City by 22. In the Palmetto State battle, Clemson beat South Carolina 68-61. And Texas over Lemoyne 95-53. In addition to Ole Miss and Alabama, A&M hooking up tonight. St. Francis is at Florida. Number 13, Vanderbilt, off to a 10-0 start, is at Memphis. And South Florida is at number 16, Alabama. So that's in Tuscaloosa tonight. Football coming up this weekend. It's what seems to be on everybody's mind. Gets started on Thursday night. No, it doesn't. Gets started on Friday night. I beg your pardon. in Norman, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Oklahoma. There we go. Sorry. 7 o'clock kickoff on ABC. You got an Alabama team that was not playing very well down the stretch. An Oklahoma team that is 10-2 on the year and is really, really good on the defensive side. But offensively, it is a struggle to watch and has been a struggle. That is game one of the first round of the college football playoff. And then you roll into the games on Saturday. And it gets started with Miami and Texas A&M. A&M hosting Miami. The Aggies, the 7 seed, Miami, the 10 seed. It's 11-1 Texas A&M, 10-2 Miami. Ole Miss and Tulane, the afternoon game. Going to kick off at 2:30 at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. 11-1 Ole Miss, 11-2 Tulane. And then the night game, James Madison and Oregon. Now, let's take a peek at the get-in-the-door ticket price for these games. Alabama and Oklahoma, your get-in-the-door price on Friday night, $167. Miami, Texas A&M, get-in-the-door price. Saturday morning, big stadium, $289. Saturday night game out in Oregon. You can get in for a Benjamin. $82 will get you in the door. Inside 55,000-seat Autzen Stadium. And right now, these have held pretty steady. The get-in-the-door price for Ole Miss and Tulane, $312. Now, all of that is well and good, but it's not anywhere close to the most expensive ticket in college football this weekend. Do you know what that is, Lance?
No, sir.
You got any guess?
No.
This weekend, in a FCS semifinal game, you have Brawl of the Wild Part 2. Brawl of the Wild is the nickname for the annual game between Montana and Montana State. The Bobcats and the Grizz met in Missoula, which is the home of the Grizz, the Montana Grizzlies. And Montana State won that game 31-28. They are the 2 seed in the FCS playoff. Montana is the 3 seed. Montana State is hosting Montana in Bozeman. Stadium seats about 24,000. Get in the door price. Cheapest ticket available on the secondary market for that game, $654. 13-1 Montana, 12-2 Montana State. That's at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. That'll be a scene in Bozeman. Get your lottery update coming up. That is your sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
But me and the good Lord gonna have us a good talk later tonight.
Into the news and debates driving the day. All on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Time for your Mississippi Lottery update, mslottery.com. That's their website. Don't forget you can now download for free the Mississippi Lottery app. You can do that on your phone. Makes checking numbers much easier. Convenient. Good way to keep up. $1.25 billion. $1.25 billion. $1,250,000,000. That is the estimated jackpot for tonight's Powerball drawing. The estimated cash value, $572.1 million. If you take that estimated cash value, here's the calculation that I use. And I'm not saying this is exact. Your accountant probably could save you a little money here. But if you assume the highest federal income tax rate of 37% and the 4% in the state of Mississippi, you're talking about 41%. So if you take that $572,100,000 and multiply it by 0.59, by my calculations, Lance, after taxes, lump sum, you are walking away with $337,539,000.
Yeah, and I wonder if I need to sit down and do the math on that, because I wonder if that would like take care of all of my Taco Tuesdays for the rest of my life. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, could I go every Tuesday with no budget and just eat as many tacos as I wanted? I think I could cover it with 300 and something million.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 51. I can't have that much time left.
I'm going to say that you could do Taco Tuesday for the entire state of Mississippi.
Yeah. I mean,
like once a month for an entire year.
Yeah. As I said, if I win it, it's going to be a party, and everyone's invited, and there will be tacos.
There you go. So you're going to let everybody know if you win it.
If I win it, I'm handing out tacos, left and right. We're going to have a party. I'm going to spend half of it on the party. That's guaranteed, as I've told you before. We're going to have a good time.
And I am of the other way. Like,
you have a family to cover, yeah.
Well, I won't announce it, but there will be signs.
Yeah, there'll be signs. The planes will get a gilded leaf paint job, etc. You'll have one of those big sycamores in your den.
if I had 0.5% of what you and Hey Dad think I have, oh man, life would be good. Yeah. CC says, because if you eat that many tacos, you're probably not going to live that much longer anyway.
No, I mean, they've been good to me. The taco's been nutritious.
Yeah. They said they could squeak by on the lottery winnings, might have to cut back on a few soda pops, not eat out as much, but could probably squeak by. Let's see. It's a big enough number that if you start actually playing with that number and being like, okay, I want to tithe off this, and you take $33 million off the top, you're like, well, that's still a big number. And then you got family members that you want to give some money to, and some debt that you want to pay off, and a piece of land that you want to buy, and you start subtracting all those things out, and you're like, well, that's still a big number.
Yeah.
And then you want to go buy a beach house somewhere and a mountain house somewhere, and maybe you want to buy a boat or a plane or whatever, and you subtract all that out and you look at it and you're like, that's still a really, really big number.
Well, I mean, like I calculated 1,560 Taco Tuesdays. If I use 30 years, that's $225,000 per Taco Tuesday. So yeah, I could invite a few people.
Yeah, you could. You certainly could.
That just puts it into perspective. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Certainly is. And then you take, I don't know, just go below $130 million. I don't care what you do with it. And then drop $200 million into some pretty conservative investments and pay yourself a little salary and just watch that thing go.
Man, I'd be buying about
grow and grow.
I'd be buying nail shops left and right, man.
Yeah, you would, and some mattress stores too. Right?
Yeah, I would do that just for the names of the mattress stores. You know,
yeah,
I love those things like the mattress.
I said,
firm.
What's the annual pay on that? I wonder over 20 years. I mean, it'd be whatever, 572 million divided by 20, so 28 million a year, something like that.
If you like staying away from taxes, look at those tax-free munis.
Yeah. Thomas, listening in the deer stand this morning, he said, I've got more deer in my backyard than here at the camp.
Amen, brother.
Then he sends a picture of one of those trail cameras. He goes, and this camera's showing me that they are where I ain't. We let a boy walk yesterday afternoon that had he was like a mono antler. One side was broken off.
He'd been fighting, been rut.
I guess so. He's going to live to see another day. Take a time out. Mornings with Richard Cross with you, Super Talk, Mississippi. News and then the 7 o'clock hour.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, Santa looks a lot like Daddy, or Daddy looks a lot like him. It's not the way I had him pictured. Santa wasn't much too thin.
Good morning. 7 o'clock hour. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thank you for being with us, for spending part of your morning with us. MRC is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. C-Spire text line making me giggle a little bit this morning. 601-879-4395. Have you checked out the holiday deals at C-Spire? If not, you should. cspire.com, looking for a new phone, a new device for you, a present under the tree, existing customer, new customer, moving over. There are so many deals for you at cspire.com. We can't begin to tell you all of them on the radio. So take a look at what it is that you need, whether it's fiber to the home internet, new device through C-Spire Wireless, or maybe some help with their business IT solutions. Holiday savings are in action, in effect, right now. cspire.com, C-Spire Customer Inspired. Said it was making me giggle. CC likes to go at Thomas. A lot of people like to go at Thomas. Thomas talked to us about being out in the deer stand this morning. CC says, Thomas is a deer hunter? That just blew my mind. I figured he'd find way too many things wrong with that type of behavior to be a participant. It's almost like finding out the dude screaming at everybody about how dangerous rubber products are actually owns a tire company. That's pretty well played, CC. Thomas says he doesn't mind being a foil. I know you don't.
If he was in wrestling, he'd be the heel, huh?
That's right. This hour of the show brought to you by MWG Employer Services, online MWGEmployerservices.com. They can make your life a whole lot easier if you are an HR professional. Benefits, payroll, trying to keep it all done. Let MWG help you. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerservices.com. Is this the worst week of Donald Trump's presidency? The campaign that Trump ran was more disciplined than I ever could have imagined, based on what we saw the first time he ran for president and based on what we saw in the first 4 years that he was in office. And then he loses, election stolen, whatever, but he loses. And he goes quiet for a little while, and then the comeback begins. And the campaign was incredibly disciplined. And most of this first year in office has been pretty disciplined. I mean, they came out swinging. Inauguration day, 26 executive orders signed. He's had to deal with judges. But on a lot of the things that Donald Trump in that very disciplined campaign said he was going to do, he has done. There haven't been a lot of missteps. There have been some disagreements. He hasn't gotten everything that he has wanted from Congress. He hasn't gotten everything that he has wanted from judges. In fact, judges have probably been the biggest impediment to some of the things that Donald Trump has wanted to do. He has stretched the bounds of presidential power beyond the point that anyone, it feels like, ever imagined they could be stretched. And he's going to try to keep stretching. But this week, you know what Vince Lombardi would say about this week? It's that famous clip you've seen on the sideline where he goes, "What the hell's going on out there?" That's what Trump supporters should be saying about him this week. It starts with him completely losing the plot. This was a week for Donald Trump. The week before the Christmas holiday week, that could have been a layup. Why could it have been a layup? Well, you had 15 people murdered in Australia. Very clearly Islamic extremism, Muslim extremism. There may not be a president in the history, there may not be a leader, there may not be a speaker in the history of the world who's better at pouncing on something like that than Donald Trump. But instead, he came out Monday morning on Truth Social doing a tap dance on the grave of Rob Reiner. What? Now, I get it, okay? I get it. And look, I have seen the collection of screenshots of all the bad things, all the nasty things, all the ugly things that Rob Reiner has said about Donald Trump. I've seen them. And they're nasty. And Donald Trump has made it abundantly clear that he is going after the people who have been his adversaries. You can like it, you can not like it. It's just what's happening. But Rob Reiner? If not for the way that he was killed, Rob Reiner and his death would have been a blurb on TMZ and Hollywood Reporter. And mainstream news people would have picked it up and they were like, oh, the guy that did Princess Bride, oh, the guy that did A Few Good Men, what a talent, what a sad loss for Hollywood. And now, the murder itself, far more salacious because his son killed him and his wife. But even so, even in a nasty, salacious Hollywood murder, it would just drift away after a couple of days. And what does Donald Trump gain by talking about how terrible a person he thought Rob Reiner was? The only thing that Donald Trump gained from that is a bunch of people who are on his side, his allies, people that he relies on in Congress who are forced to come out and go, Mr. President, what are you doing? This is below the dignity of the office of the President of the United States. This man and his wife just had their throats slit and they were stabbed to death by their own son. And you give this half-cocked condolence where you talk about how terrible a person Rob Reiner was. What are you doing? Stop it. It's an unforced error. And nobody likes dancing on a dead person's grave, especially a guy that there are a lot of people on the right who go like, I didn't agree at all politically with Rob Reiner, but I thought he was a pretty decent human being. Venezuela is raising lots of questions. Lot of questions. I asked you the question yesterday, did we pay enough attention last week to the oil tanker that was seized? Flying under a Guyana flag, sanctioned oil tanker. Well, buddy, if we didn't, we are now. Because Donald Trump has just announced a blockade. He's got much of the Pacific Fleet camped out pretty close to Venezuela right now. And it said any sanctioned ship into or out of Venezuela will be captured. Taking all their oil. Why are you doing that? Well, the oil is the economic engine for Maduro's regime. Why do you care? Well, you need to oust Maduro. Why do you care? Why do you need to do that? Because of his relationship with China and his relationship with Russia? Oh. Is this Donald Trump's Monroe Doctrine moment? Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd joins us next. We'll talk more about this throughout the morning.
From the Morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I was 3 days short of pulling out of Kingsport. I was headed down to Houston town. Had the guitar packed in a burlap sack.
You know, one of the cool things about the Christmas season, a lot of kids get to do this. They'll get either an Advent calendar or the, honestly, if we're being honest, the more popular, the chocolate calendar, where you've got the little carve out, a little perforated edge, and each day during the month of December, you open the door to a door or a window or whatever, and you pull out the piece of chocolate as you count down to Christmas. I'm wondering if our legislators have a countdown to the session calendar. Because 20 days is the number. Senator Nicole Boyd joins me this morning. You got one of those, like a chocolate countdown calendar for the start of the session, or you're not that excited about it?
I don't quite have that chocolate calendar. I think there might be some other things in there besides chocolate. So that's a great question. So I don't have a countdown calendar. Maybe I should start implementing that. I think my colleagues would crack up. So
3 weeks from yesterday, a new session begins. Nicole Akins-Boyd's joining us this morning. She represents District 9. That's mostly Lafayette County. This has been a busy couple of months leading up to the start of this new session. You've talked to us a lot about hearings, both in the health area, but then also in the college and university area. And just a week ago, big Senate College and University Committee hearing with a lot of people there from not just Mississippi, but some other parts of the country as well.
That's right. So we met, we had a lot of hearings last week, but for universities and colleges, we met Wednesday and Thursday. I think we had about 9.5 hours of hearings, kind of all total. But we heard from everybody from the treasurer, David McRae, looking at our college savings plan. And, you know, that really hadn't got a lot of publicity, but it's kind of exciting. Our college savings plan is funded. One of the programs is funded at 100%, 140%, another at 100%. So they've done a really great job of making sure that those programs are fully funded for participants. And so that's super exciting, helps our state with bond rating, obviously, and all of that. So we kind of kicked off with that. But then we started really delving. Yeah.
No, I just want to interrupt real quick because when David McCray came into office, they had to pause that program for a little while because it was not actuarially sound at the time, right? I mean, this has been kind of a pretty remarkable turnaround.
I think we had some really problems in the market for just a moment. And so they adjusted with that, and it's been really a remarkable turnaround as markets have increased. They've done a great job too. And so it's really kind of exciting. We have over I think it's about 34,000 Mississippians who have a plan or a program. So that's very exciting to see. And they've done a fantastic job with that. So we're pleased with that. So really a great investment if you're looking for a Christmas present for something to start beyond maybe a set of Legos. This might be something you really want to look at and really look at that Impact Horizon program that they have with the college savings plan. I'd encourage every Mississippian to do that.
Yeah, and that may be a Christmas present for a grandchild or a child, but it's actually a present for the parent. You're just giving it early. It's a big present. You had some people from other states.
I did.
And they were talking about the way that colleges and universities are being funded. I think we're at about 30, maybe 32 states that are using some version of performance-based funding.
Yes. So we presently in Mississippi are not using performance-based funding. The College Board actually did a plan a number of years ago, but the plan has never been implemented to where we were looking at performance-based metrics.
Why is that?
This is something that they paused it. There's a lot of different reasons that are given. They paused it. The quote the commissioner gave in our joint legislative budget hearings was that there were going to be winners and losers. And so they paused it in 2000. Basically, they never started it. But in 2016, they held everybody hold harmless at where they were, and they never implemented that formula. And our committee has been very focused on this for the last 2 years, wanting to see performance measures really looked at and implemented. We have about 32 states doing it. We had Tennessee testify for us. Their funding at their higher ed level is about 96% performance-based funding. So when they implemented this in 2010 in Tennessee, they increased their 4-year graduation rates about 50%. So it's a phenomenal result, and it really drove outcomes at universities. And we need to drive some outcomes at our universities. So, if they had implemented that funding formula, if they had really implemented that performance-based metric that the College Board really looked at and adopted, we would see there would be some definite changes. They're correct on that. And, you look at some universities have been shortchanged. One of the largest, I believe, they were shortchanged about $165 million. You saw one that had been, they got more money than they would have under the formula to the tune of about $153 million of this period from 16 to now. So we have got to drive performance. We have some numbers that are not great.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. We need to pause there for a second. You said there is a university, and these are my words, not yours. I'm assuming it's either Ole Miss or Mississippi State that was underfunded by $160 million, and another that was overfunded by $150 million. So a $300 million swing in funding in that window.
Right. Yeah. So Mississippi State should have received about this is a document that they produced to us of $165 million more from 15 to 26. We're in the 26 fiscal year with the legislature. So they should have received $165 million more. So the University of Mississippi should have received $119 million more. Everybody else received over what they should receive. Now, I've got to point out, too, the W, it's only a $136,000 swing on that one. Okay. So they kind of are at a break-even level. But you've got anywhere from JSU did not receive that much. They're about $13 million over. And then it swings up past that. So you've got vast discrepancies in here that would have...
To be clear, these numbers where we say Mississippi State received $160 million less than they should have, Ole Miss $120 million less, that is if the funding formula that the IHL approved and came up with had been actually implemented over the course of the last 11 years.
That's correct. And these are the numbers that they gave to us. So this is not the legislature doing this. This is the numbers that the IHL gave us in a report they gave us back in July. So, and that funding formula was largely based on performance metrics. So, those are, and what we really have got to do is we've got to drive performance at our universities and colleges. We know that some of our universities are above the national average in getting 4- and 6-year graduates to the completion stage. And we know that some of our universities are way behind. And we've got to drive some performance metrics on that and really start seeing this. We've got one university who even at a 6-year level, not even a 4-year level, is graduating only about 26 to 27% of the people that enter as freshmen. And those are really unacceptable numbers, because what it happens in those situations is the student comes in, they're not ready to go to college, maybe they're academically not ready or whatever, and then they're getting some college, but they're never getting a degree completion. And so what we know is students who do that actually are making less in the workforce than someone who never attempted college. Just a little college doesn't help. You got to get the certificate and you have to get the degree. And we had people we had experts from Excel and Ed really talk about how that we've got to drive performance when looking at colleges and universities. So those are things that are account. And this all leads to, there's a couple of things that really has caused us to really dive deep in all of this.
All right, and let's start there. Nicole, let's start there on the other side of this break. We've got 30 seconds into the break, so that'll be a good place to start on the other side. Whew, those are big numbers. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. We've got more coming up with Senator Nicole Boyd right after this.
What you want to do, I think I could stay with you for a while, maybe longer if I do. Now it's come to what you want to have.
From the Seabrook.com.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back with you on Mornings, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Richard Cross and Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd, chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. She's vice chair of Senate Medicaid. And we're talking about the hearings and some of the questions that are swirling around the IHL when it comes to funding colleges and universities in the state of Mississippi. It strikes me as there are people who are going to push back on this and be like, oh, this is a rich get richer and the poor get poorer thing. But it strikes me that it's actually an opportunity to say, hey, you're not doing so well. If you'll get your act together, the funding is there for you. Or, hey, you're doing great, and here's a reward, and we want you to push it even farther. Am I off base on that?
No, not at all. And we saw that when Tennessee showed us their numbers of what they started with as far as what universities and colleges were getting, and then where they are today. And what you saw in those universities and colleges is really performance driven. What you saw is universities and colleges really beginning to look at their performance-based metrics on that. And he presented, full transparency, the budgets of those universities. And what you saw is them start maybe dedicating those funds to making sure that performance was driving a lot of what they were doing at those universities and colleges. And you've seen this across the country. This is something, my committee has really been looking at for the last couple of years. And so because we want to see better metrics with this. And why is this important? Well, obviously we want to see a higher level of graduate. We want to see people retain this, but you have to look at the overall health of the state in workforce development. So one of the things that we've noticed very quickly is Mississippi has a attainment goal of ascent to 55. This was adopted a number of years ago. And we saw states across the country kind of adopt these things. Most of our surrounding states now it's ascent to 60%. So we're a little behind in what we're doing. We've only got about 49%
and that's workforce participation?
No, that is people that have some certificate or college degree.
I got you.
So, some type of level. And that's important for employers when they're looking to locate in Mississippi. It's a workforce-driven component. And so that's one of the things we really started looking at. Okay, what's going on that we are not being able to ascent to 60 right now as opposed to just 55? And so you started looking at our higher education system. What are we producing? What are we not producing? And one of the things that came across as we were doing this is we started looking at our student debt in the state. We're the number one worst debt to income ratio for student loans in the country. The people that there's about 15.5 Mississippians who carry student loans right now, which is a really high percentage. We're tied with Georgia for the highest in the country. And so, and the people that have these loans, they have loans about over $37,000 that they have in student loans. And that's really a large number. It also affects their ability to own homes, to do many things. We have low home ownership in the state. So these numbers start, impacting lots of different things. And so you go back to the root of these issues and said, okay, what's going on that we have these student loans? Well, one of the things that's going on that we have the student loans is we have a number of people who start college, but then never complete it. And we have a huge number of those people in the state, a very large percentage. And we're like, well, why are they not able, what happened here? And you start looking at graduation rates. And, when you look at that they're not able to complete this degree in 4 years, and IHL really wants to use the number of 6 years. That is something we're probably not in agreement about, because we want to see people able to get through, because we know it's financially important for them to get through in 4 years.
I mean, I'm raising my hand because it took me 6. So, you were a much higher achiever, I'm sure, than I was. Your children are much higher achievers than I ever was. But I might co-sign with the 6-year window. Nicole, let me ask you this. You can talk about this in committees. It can make headlines. It can be something where people kind of have their mouth drop when they realize where the funding disparity is. But where is the rest of the legislature going to be on this? Because we know that we have, in your case, senators from all over the state of Mississippi with allegiances to schools all over the state of Mississippi. I know that sometimes Ole Miss and Mississippi State take most of the oxygen because they grab the headlines. They're in the SEC. They're the biggest universities, all of those things. In terms of forcing the IHL down this road, what leverage do you have? What power do you have?
Well, I think IHL has, and they've actually they're contracting with the same entity that did the original funding formula, and that entity is actually holding interviews with key stakeholders and community and presidents of the different universities and a lot of different people to look at a new funding formula. So we're very pleased to see IHL moving that direction.
Whoa,
but I also think you have to remember.
Hold on. What?
Yeah.
Why do they want a new one? Why do they want to pay these people to give them a new funding formula when they've already paid them once to give them a funding formula they didn't use?
Well, they wanted to update it, and that's the process that they're doing right now. So that's what they're looking at this moment. So I'll have to let you talk to an IHL.
Well, I would love to. I would love to. I would love to visit with the chairman. I would love to visit with one of the members. Every single one of them have an open invitation right here any day of the week.
Well, they'll take you up on that. But back to the question of the legislature, I think you have to remember too, this is a legislative body who, over a number of years before I got there, that really has looked at holding education leaders accountable. We have not ascended from 50th in the country to 16th in the country in our K-12 program without some of those tough, hard decisions where they've held schools accountable. Now we're looking at this to make sure that we're holding our IHL and our community colleges and everybody, and we're just talking about IHL really right now, but make sure that we're holding them accountable as well. We've done a great job of really looking at even everything with how they finance different programs and different things like that in the K-12 arena. It's time to move that bar to our universities and colleges because this really is affecting our workforce tremendously. And the legislature has made those tough decisions in the past. And you talk about a legislator going home to their K-12 school and say, I love you, but you're going to have to improve. And that's what we're really looking at right here. We've got to see better performance metrics. Other states have done it. Across the country, the other big thing too that's super important to remember is one of the things that we were already looking at this, but in the One Big Beautiful Bill, you've got some penalties there now for higher education programs that are not producing programs that lead to higher wages and programs such as that. So you're going to have some penalties really looking at these universities as they're producing things that are not going to lead to success for their graduates. So I think there's a new emphasis right now in this to make sure that when students, when money is being provided, that we're seeing a lot better production for what they're getting.
Well, one last thing for you as we wrap up. We got 2 minutes left. You mentioned community colleges a second ago, and I don't mean this as a tag on at the end of the conversation. We've been focused on IHL specifically right here. What about the funding model for community colleges? I don't hear about some of the same disparities within that system. Are they just over there kicking rear end up and down the state of Mississippi and doing a great job?
Well, their funding model is based on a per student funding formula. So you're getting the same thing. The graduate from Northwest Community College is getting the same thing. I mean, the student at Northwest Community Colleges is getting the same thing as the one from the Gulf Coast. Okay. So you see and that's not the case at our colleges and universities. You see a discrepancy of about close to over $5,000 in some instances. One university, their average student, they may be receiving $5,000 for, where at another university, they're receiving over $10,000 per student. And that's where that whole discrepancy comes into place.
The performance model is one thing, is just a per student flat rate. Is that something that makes sense? You got 30 seconds.
Well, we really want to see everybody start moving to outcome-based formula, not really even a per-student funding formula. We really want to look at outcomes, because those are the outcome-based formulas really going to drive the success of our students, and it's going to make sure they're getting a value for their dollar when they enter the higher education system.
Senator
and
Nicole
we're looking
Boyd,
at this particularly as we start.
Chair of Senate Universities and Colleges, always a pleasure. Merry Christmas to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Have mercy on me when it comes to crossing the good golly woman. That just scares the devil right out of me.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Appreciate you joining us, you being part of the conversation. C-Spire text line 601-879-4395. That's the best way for you to be part of the conversation. Last guest said a lot of nothing. All talk, no solutions. That's really interesting to me that was your takeaway. No solutions yet. But her committee has spent, as she said, the last 2 years really digging in and trying to understand not only what we're doing here in Mississippi with the IHL, but what other states are doing so that they can work to push for a solution. She pretty clearly laid out the goal of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee, and that's to push the IHL toward a performance-based, outcomes-based funding model. Now, I will say this to you. That is a hard radio conversation. I understand that. And it's hard because it's numbers and percentages and studies, and this state did this and that state did that, and how do we roll this in, and acronyms for, models and formulas and math and all of that stuff. That's hard to soak in on the radio. But to say that Senator Boyd said a lot of nothing, I just disagree with you wholeheartedly on that. In fact, I would almost argue the exact opposite. There's so much information there that it's hard to digest. Somebody said, sounds like whoever said that was listening to argue instead of listening to learn. Maybe. How do you really know how much a graduate is making, or even if they're working in the field of their degree is in? That's a good question. I think there's a lot of survey. I mean, it's volunteer survey stuff, but then you also, probably the more accurate way is for colleges and universities to collect that information. My guess would be that people would be more responsive and receptive to their alma mater reaching out and saying, hey, tell us what you're doing. We want to know how our graduates are doing, for them to say, hey, yeah, I'm working at this job and, this is the salary range. But I don't know. I mean, you've got companies like, what is it, Lance? Glassdoor? Is that the website you can go to where you can kind of get median salary and annual average salary and top earners this and whatever? Yeah. I sometimes find that those numbers are not super accurate, but they at least put you in the ballpark. Hard to push IHL to have results given the economy and jobs, and then throw in the article I just shared, the offshoring H-1B. That's Thomas. Man, you are so caught up on H-1B right now. There is more to our economy, Thomas. There is more to our workforce than just H-1B visas. I understand that there's some jobs in the technology field that are being taken by Indians. I get it. I understand. That is not the only rail of our workforce. And Thomas just did a little fist pump in the deer stand. He's like, I got Richard riled up. Ha, 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 ha. Like, have a bigger view of the world than just one issue. Russ and Rankin says you can't come up with solutions if you don't acknowledge the problem. Nicole acknowledged the problems. I was in law school with her. She has a quiet confidence and she's smart, proud that she's the chair. Yes, Russ. I agree with that. And is highly respected by our colleagues. I would add to that as well. She's on the right track, but if they are successful, they will kill black colleges. They underperform. Facts. I mean, I applaud your directness. And that is a very, very real part of this conversation. Our black colleges and universities, HBCUs, if we're being proper in the way we describe them, play a really important role in Mississippi. Historically, do they play as important a role today as they do historically? If we're going to get there, we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations about how that works. I mean, Jackson State is a school that is thriving. Some of the other HBCUs are not. We're back with you after this. News is next.
You're Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
But when I close my eyes late at night, you can bet I thank my maker. She keeps on loving me, loves me the way I am.
Their catalog's a whole lot more than just this song, but that's a really, really good one. Mornings with Richard Cross at Community Bank. We're here for every part of your financial journey, looking to manage your personal finances. Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybанk.net. Rex Baker joins us this morning. He is CEO of Gateway Rescue Mission. And Rex, I appreciate some of your time this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard. Glad to be here.
I don't think there is ever a slow time necessarily for Gateway Rescue Mission, but when we get into the cold weather season, the holiday time in particular, do you see an uptick in activity?
We do. There is more people come in at night. What we really see an uptick also is in people getting involved. Like yesterday morning, I went by a friend's house and they loaded up about 10 boxes of blankets to donate. Wow. So that sort of thing we see picking up a lot this time of year also. But there's really not a slow time for us.
Yeah. Can you give us a high-level overview of Gateway Rescue Mission, kind of what you are doing on a day-to-day basis, what services are available?
Sure. We are a faith-based homeless shelter. We serve 3 meals a day to the public. Most are homeless. Some are low income in the area, maybe subsisting on a slim budget. And so they can come in and eat with us. And we have our overnight shelter. It's an overnight shelter for men who are homeless. One of our big things is our rehabilitation program. We have an addiction recovery program called our New Life program. And that is a 6-month program where people can come in and reside with us and who are wanting to come off drugs and addictions. And that's one of the main drivers that we're seeing right now.
What is the balance that you see? You talked about the overnight program a second ago of people who are in a state of almost hopelessness to go along with their homelessness compared to those who are doing everything they can to make it, to push forward, they have some sort of employment during the day and then come to you for overnights.
We see some of that. We do have some people who come in and look, I need a place to stay for a few nights. I've got a job. I just need to save some money. Unfortunately, that's not the majority of what we see. Most of the people who come to us what we would call the chronically homeless, are going to have some sort of a mental issue that just causes them problems in life. We see a lot of schizophrenia, and over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen an explosion in the homeless population in our area with crystal meth use. Yeah. So that's one of the main drivers right now. A lot of people don't like to talk about that because doesn't give you the warm fuzzies.
Sure,
but it's a reality.
Well, and I mean that was going to be kind of my follow-up question. I mean, how many of the people that are coming to you have addiction issues that they're dealing with? Whether it's crystal
about
meth
90%.
Or wow,
yeah, it's going to be way up there. Yeah, and that I would include in that also. It's people who have they done drugs at some point. Most have, and what we're calling it now, the super meth. It's the new way of actually it's an old way, but after they outlawed ephedrine-based meth, we saw a shift to what is called P2P meth or super meth. It's short for phenylpropanone. It's a chemical that has a lot of household chemicals and stuff in it. It's really old meth used to create euphoria. So they say. I never tried it, but the new meth creates a paranoia. So you see people on the streets, they're paranoid, they're having hallucinations, they see things that aren't there. So they don't want to come to the shelter. They don't want to go to the rehab program. So they stay out in these homeless camps where they all do meth together. And that's what we're seeing a lot of.
Rex Baker is CEO of Gateway Rescue Mission. Incredible work that is happening there. This may be a personal question, so forgive me if it is. How do you stay?
Go ahead.
How do you stay out of the judgment business?
Sometimes that does creep in. Yeah. Well, if they just get their act together, if they would just come in and get help, but it is also I think this could be said with a lot of people who are in this type of work. It's sort of a divine calling where you're sort of equipped with a radar that also allows you to be compassionate with people. I mean, we see some sad stuff. There was an older guy who passed away the other night. He was outside in the cold somewhere in Jackson. We think we know who he was, but he would not come into a shelter. Yeah. So, judgment is something that we all have to, in our line of work, try to keep in check. You need a certain amount of it, but you don't need to go overboard with it.
Yeah. There are people who have this moral dilemma when they see a homeless person on a sidewalk, on a street corner, at an intersection. Do I give money? Do I give whatever? Or are they just going to go get their next hit? Are they just going to go buy a pint of whatever to drink? And I had an interaction one time years ago in Miami. I was there with my wife, and there was a lady who was panhandling on the sidewalk there. And by the way, I feel like homeless people more times than not would go to a warm climate as opposed to being in a cold place. It seems like that makes more sense. But there was a McDonald's next door, and so I went in and I bought a value meal with a couple of extra cheeseburgers in it, and I took that to her, and I don't know that I've ever seen hatred on the face the way she looked at me when I gave her that. She did not want food. She did not want McDonald's. She wanted money, and it left a really, like, I was trying to do something good. Like, what advice do you give to people when they are asked directly for money by panhandlers?
I am jaded on that, Richard, because the area of town we work, we're on Gallatin Street, our mission in Jackson. And so I drive the strip down to I-20 a lot. And so we go into the homeless camps. We work with the people. And I see people that we go in, that we work with, and they're out on the street corner panhandling. So I know what they're doing. They're using that money to sustain their lifestyle, and that includes buying drugs. And that's just the reality of it. I don't know that that's always been the case historically, but it is the case much of the time. When you buy somebody food fresh from McDonald's and they don't want it, that tells you something.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not saying that McDonald's is the answer either, but it just was what was close. And I thought, hey, we'll do it. Yeah. She's actually hungry right now. We'll try something, and it didn't work out. So in terms of getting involved, you mentioned people, an uptick that you see in this particular time of year with people making donations. What are the ways that people can help at Gateway Rescue Mission?
I don't want to sound too crass, but we can always use financial donations.
Sure.
We're actually renovating a building right now to enlarge and grow our addiction recovery program. So we're really excited about that. But that sort of thing costs money. And so you can go to our website at gatewaymission.org and make a contribution. I would ask people to also come down and call us up, set up a time to come down and look around. We'd love that. But, out in different locations around the state where you may not have a Gateway Rescue Mission real close by, sometimes just being aware of what's going on. If you see somebody out, there's nothing wrong with stopping and speaking, saying, hey, how can I help you? Even if they are just trying to scam, they're still a human being. And sometimes I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. It is an incredible work that you and all the people are doing. How many meals are you serving a day?
Probably a couple of hundred. If you add it all up over the 3 meals.
Yeah.
It's good food, too. Yeah.
There you go. I like that. Rex Baker, CEO at Gateway Rescue Mission. Appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate you sharing what's going on. Give us the website one more time that people can learn more about Gateway Rescue.
Gatewaymission.org.
There it is, gatewaymission.org. Rex, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for the work that you're doing and all the others at Gateway.
Thank you, Richard.
And Merry Christmas to you.
All right, Merry Christmas to you.
It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We will continue the conversation with you coming up next. Thanks for joining us. We're back right after this.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
On the 11th day of Christmas, my sweetheart gave to me 11 wrestling t-shirts, 10 rounds of ammo, 9 bags of Red Man, 8 Elvis records, 7 Quavy biscuits, 6 Levi breeches, 5 banjo strings, 4 Mac wheels, 3 coon dogs, 2 cowboy hats, and a ticket to a NASCAR race. On the 12th day of Christmas, my sweetheart gave to me.
I thought a very honest and in some ways raw conversation with Rex Baker from Gateway Rescue Mission. Really appreciate his time with us this morning. Appreciate all of our guests. Nicole Boyd, Senator from District 9, Chair of the Senate and Universities and Colleges Committee, and Vice Chair of Senate Medicaid as well. A lot of good stuff this morning. If you missed any of the show, it is Available to you on demand at supertalk.fm shortly after the show ends each day. It's also available as a podcast, so you can listen on the go, whenever you would like. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Ole Miss is hosting its first ever college football playoff game this coming Saturday, and tomorrow and Friday, Sports Talk Mississippi will be live at the library on the square in Oxford, getting you set for the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. You're going to hear from former players, some administrators, and others as we get you ready for one of the biggest games, I would argue the biggest game in Ole Miss football history. Somebody put it to me this way before. Said, when in Ole Miss history has it ever been win one game and nothing else matters and you go to the Sugar Bowl? There's always, it's never in a vacuum, right? It's, well, you have to do this and you need this result to fall this way and that result to fall that way. No, this is straightforward. And this year it's not the Sugar Bowl. Yeah, I mean, it is the Sugar Bowl, but it's not just the Sugar Bowl. It's also the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. If Ole Miss wins over Tulane, they will be one of 8 remaining teams with a chance to win a national championship. It's pretty significant. Our coverage of Ole Miss and the college football playoff is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and southern hospitality. Don't forget that starting at 6 p.m. on December 23rd, 6 days from right now, we will once again have for you a Mississippi Christmas with Steve Azar. Starts at 6 p.m. on December 23rd. We'll go to 6 a.m. on December 26th. Steve will play hours and hours of Christmas classics, tunes from Mississippi artists, and even a couple of holiday tunes on his guitar. Plus, you can watch the Yule log and listen to music on SuperTalk TV. A Mississippi Christmas with Steve Azar, brought to you by AgriGold.com, Covington County Hospital, and Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch. Be sure to check that out.
Got something for you here.
Tell it.
To answer your question, has there ever been a game more important than this one in Ole Miss history? And this is a question for our listeners and you. 1959, Billy Cannon run. Ole Miss goes 10-1. Ends up getting a share of the national championship, winning in their Sugar Bowl against LSU, allowed 2.1 points per game, but without that one loss against LSU in that legendary run, does Ole Miss get the consensus national championship?
Probably so.
Yeah, so that one game there, I would say maybe is as important, but it obviously isn't in the modern era, and things were extremely different then. But
Halloween night, 1959, but there was still more football to play after that.
That's right, yeah. So that it's different.
The difference.
But, yeah, exactly. But that game being, I would say, probably is important maybe at that era.
I get a message on from a buddy of mine. It says on another note, the 2015 Egg Bowl decided who was going to the Sugar Bowl. It did. It absolutely did. But that was, I mean, if you're asking the question, is this the biggest or most important game in the history of Ole Miss football, that was not to get into the playoff. That was to get into the Sugar Bowl when it was a New Year's 6 bowl game. The stakes were really high. It was the opportunity to go and play in a Sugar Bowl trophy, for a Sugar Bowl trophy. It was not to advance on the road to a national championship. If Ole Miss wins against Tulane, survive and advance. If they lose, the season is over. There is no bowl game. There are no, bowl gifts for the players. There's no, what are we going to do around New Year's for fans, whatever. It is, Saturday's game in Oxford is a zero-sum game. A winner that keeps going and a loser that is done. And both teams with a coach that started the season as the head coach that will not be the head coach next year. Lane Kiffin already gone, obviously, at Ole Miss. John Sumrall coaching in the playoffs, but he's headed to Gainesville the second the season is over for to be the head coach at Florida, leaving Tulane. Trying to decide where we want to go here. So I started down this road earlier about worst week of Donald Trump's presidency this particular week. So you have the Trump being focused on denigrating Rob Reiner after he and his wife were murdered, allegedly by their son, as opposed to taking the opportunity to focus on Islamic extremism. Because it was, a layup, a batting practice, 70-mile-an-hour fastball over the heart of the plate that is in the wheelhouse where he ought to be able to knock it out of the park. After you had a father and a son in Australia who appear to have been influenced by ISIS, killing people in that Hanukkah celebration on Bondi Beach in Sydney. And then you have the Brown University issue where the president comes out and says it's Brown University's fault. They should have better security procedures in place. And then you have the Venezuela issues where, and man, it feels so much more complicated than what the story that's being told. Like if you dig a little bit deeper and you look at the reliance that Venezuela has on China and Russia for selling their oil to them so that the Maduro regime can maintain enough money to keep the military on its side and can stay in power in that narco state. And all of the angles that go along with that, and the announcement of a blockade. And by the way, the president is going to speak tonight on national television. And I don't think we know exactly what that address is going to entail. Is it going to be about Venezuela or something else? I think most people think it's going to be about Venezuela. But what is the president going to roll out in this message on a Wednesday night in primetime? Every news channel, every major network will be covering it. We'll see. I say every news channel, MSNBC or whatever they call it now. They might, I don't know, they might do a best of Rachel Maddow instead of carrying the president's live address, but I think they'll probably carry it. The reaction that you get on Fox News will be probably vastly different than the reaction you get on MSNBC and CNN, regardless of what the president says. It's always fun to bounce back and forth between the channels to get the reaction to a live message from the president. So we'll see. And then there's this Susie Wiles story. Full disclosure. Lance, I told you this earlier. I was sitting in my office last night, and so it's a two-part story in Vanity Fair. And the background is Susie Wiles has done a series of interviews with a reporter from Vanity Fair in which she has talked in great detail and apparently in great candor about all of the crises that the Trump administration has dealt with along the way. And reading that story, the thing that struck me is Susie Wiles has been the gatekeeper for the president, serving as his chief of staff. And I've been incredibly impressed with Susie Wiles from the way she managed the Trump campaign for president to the way that she has managed the Oval Office. And it felt so incredibly out of character that not only would she sit down for a series of interviews and be as candid as she was, but also that she would do it with an outlet like Vanity Fair. This is the whole, if you sleep in the bed with a rattlesnake, eventually you're going to get bit idea. And that rattlesnake struck with the release of that story. We're back after this.
Down.
From the Seabrook.com.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
And I'm tired of taking blame when I ain't done nothing wrong. I'm tired of other people trying to take what's mine. And I'm tired of y'all playing dress up and trying to sing them old country songs. Oh, now, some days you kill it, some days you choke. Some days you blast off, some days you just smoke. Well, maybe I do, and maybe I don't. They all say it'll be
Good to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us this morning. So we're talking about the Susie Wiles story in Vanity Fair. Susie Wiles, the chief of staff for the president. And I was kind of talking to you about what struck me in that story. I said there was full disclosure that I needed to offer as well. The full disclosure is I'm not done with the story yet. So I was sitting in my office last night on the couch. And it's about 9:30, and it's a two-part story. And I was, I don't know, half, maybe three-quarters of the way through part one. Long read. Really interesting. And, brother, I fell sound asleep. And I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning, and my laptop was folded over my arm. Like, you know, it folds in half like a clamshell or whatever. It was like halfway folded, hanging over my arm, kind of off the edge of the couch. And when I woke up at 2 o'clock, I was like, what's going on?
That boy was tired.
And I realized that I had like 4 messages from my wife. She was like, hey, good night, little hand wave emoji, like, what's up? So it's like, good grief. So I got up at 2 and walked inside and brushed my teeth and climbed in the bed and slept for a couple of hours and back at it. So I've got a little bit more work to do on reading the entirety of the story. But I said before the break, like, I use the rattlesnake analogy. You know, a rattlesnake can be with you and not bite you and not bite you and not bite you. But what a rattlesnake does is it bites you. It rattles that tail to warn you and then it strikes. Did you expect Vanity Fair to write a puff piece that was nothing but complimentary to the administration? Did you expect them to just give a 35,000-foot view of an administration that allowed it to come in and get an intimate look at the inner workings of the cabinet? Like an administration that has largely shown great discipline and really good judgment in the way that it deals with media is now left to damage control this story from Vanity Fair. She threw Pam Bondi under the bus, saying that the way she handled the Epstein investigation was a huge whiff. I think most people agree with that, but you don't expect the president's chief of staff to be saying that to Vanity Fair. She talked about the role that Stephen Miller plays, the role that J.D. Vance plays, about his conversion from, at one point, comparing Trump to Hitler to becoming perhaps the biggest advocate of Donald Trump in all of politics. And she said that that was political in nature because he was running for the Senate at the time. I mean, those are just some of the headline-grabbing quotes out of this, but what did you expect? Donald Trump, for his part, I mean, there the headline that so many people have grabbed is the quote where Susie Wiles talked about Donald Trump having the personality of an alcoholic. Now, to his credit, Donald Trump said he stands behind Susie Wiles, and he's used that exact same comparison himself of his personality on a number of occasions. The possessiveness of an alcoholic, and he has put it, you know, he's a teetotaler, says he's never had a drop of alcohol in his life, what was it, his father or his uncle who was an alcoholic and he saw up close and personal?
Uncle.
His uncle. Thank you. You know, what that can do to a person, and has said it's a good thing I'm not an alcoholic because if I were a drinker, I'd be a world-class drinker. And that would not be good given the personality that he already has if you combine it with alcohol. There was a lack of context in a lot of the quotes, and Susie Wiles has come out and said this is a hit piece from Vanity Fair where no context was included. It's like a 50,000-word story. There was some context that was included, but it was the context that the writer wanted, and it certainly has gotten a lot of play. And then there's this story at Brown University where we are left scratching our heads going, what are they doing? The governor, the mayor, the university president, the attorney general, the chief of police. Those are the people that we're hearing from Brown, and they're saying a lot of, well, we don't know. We don't know. And then we've heard that the shooter yelled something before shooting, but either we don't actually know what he said or the leadership in that Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island community does know what he said, and they don't want to make it public because it doesn't fit some narrative that they want to push. Why? Why? If he yelled Allahu Akbar, if he yelled death to the Jews, if he yelled from the river to the sea, if he yelled whatever it was that he yelled, why are we hiding that? Was it really unintelligible? Did really nobody understand what he was saying? Or does it not fit into a neat little box what they want to do? You've been on a college campus. I've been on college campuses. There are cameras everywhere, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with the Attorney General's assertion that, well, it's an old building connected to a new building, and we just don't have the footage.
I looked it up yesterday, and I misquoted. I said to one of our listeners there were over 800-plus cameras on campus. I found yesterday that that's over 1,250 working cameras were on campus at the time.
And yet we don't have anything. We're relying on Ring doorbells and faraway shots of this guy walking down the street and trying to piece together what it means, but when he turned around on the sidewalk and put his hands behind his back. You got the FBI kind of getting thrown under the bus in the way they've handled it. They immediately get a person of interest, but they let him go. Can you imagine living in the Rhode Island community? Do we think this guy's still in Rhode Island? Well, that'd be pretty stupid if he is. It's 5 days after the shooting. And it feels like we're no closer to having this person apprehended than we were when it happened on Saturday afternoon. And oh, by the way, 2 young people were killed. And by all accounts, they were exceptional young people. The young man that wanted to be a neurosurgeon, the young woman from Birmingham, Ella Cook, who was an exceptional student and had plans to study abroad next year, was described by everybody she came into contact with as kind and generous and exceptional. And we got 7 other students at last count, 8 that were wounded, 7 that are still in the hospital. And they're just kind of bumbling along with the investigation. Now, it takes time. I'm assuming this guy doesn't want to actually be caught. What if this is another story where we have an elite Ivy League university that feels like they are covering for someone, covering for something, covering for some group, for some entity, for some belief system? I don't want to be conspiracy theory-ish with this. But when you're 5 days into an investigation with the resources of the FBI and the local police and the state police and the Attorney General's office, and we find out that web pages have been taken down on the Brown University website and the university president is asked about it, she's like, I don't know anything about that. Well, what do you know? What have you been doing? Because it's kind of your job to know, especially right now, what is happening at your university. Because right now on your watch as the president of the university, Brown University, you got 2 dead students and 8 more that were shot and wounded, 7 of which are still in the hospital. Probably a good time to get a little better handle on what is going on and what's not going on. When the media and the people covering this story have more of an idea of what's happening at your university than you do as the university president, that's a problem.
In the SuperTalk Jackson 97.3. The state's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Maria, there was some blue in sorrow time.
You got kids, they are probably wrapping up exams and school this week, and they are going to be home next week and the days leading up to Christmas. And you likely, if you are a parent, are going to have a point where you are going to say, I've got to find something to do to get them out of the house. We love the Christmas break. We love the time away from school, but you also get to a point where you're looking for things to do. May I suggest the 6th annual Holly Jolly Holidays happening at M Trade Park in Oxford. Whether you're in North Mississippi or Central Mississippi, might be worth the road trip. Oxford on Ice, the Walk of Lights, fire pits with s'mores kits and other concessions. And the hours are good for you. Mondays and Tuesdays, it's closed. Wednesday through Friday, 5 to 9 are the operating hours. Then on the weekends, noon until 9 on Saturday, 5 until 9 on Sunday. Children 6 and under are admitted free to the Walk of Lights. You can buy tickets for adults and children over 6 there on site. You've got half-price tickets that are happening on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So ice skating, the Walk of Lights, and other outdoor activities, check it out. You can go to visitoxfordms.com or follow along on any of their social media platforms, or go to this website, hollyjollyoxford.holiday. Great way to get out of the house, get yourself in the holiday spirit, the Christmas spirit, and enjoy some time with friends and families. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, just a couple of minutes left with you on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week, December the 17th. We can talk more about this tomorrow, but a story that's now a day or so old. Officials from the United States say that Washington has now agreed to give Ukraine some of the security guarantees that it is seeking. Story from the AP from 2 days ago. U.S. has agreed to provide unspecified security guarantees to Ukraine as part of a peace deal to end Russia's nearly 4-year war. More talks likely this coming weekend. Officials said on Monday, following the latest discussions with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Officials said talks with President Donald Trump's envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, led to narrowing differences on security guarantees that Kiev said must be provided, as well as on Moscow's demand that Ukraine concede land in the Donbas region in the country's east. it feels like slow progress, but maybe there actually is some progress toward an end to the needless loss of life in Ukraine and in Russia. Are you looking for land? So many people want land of some sort, whether it's a place to build a dream home or a cabin or just to get away, have your own spot to hunt. David Fisher Land Company can help. They're based in Inverness, Mississippi, in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, but they service all of Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. 40 years of combined experience in farm and recreational land brokerage, land appraisals, and farmland management, whether you're looking for 100 acres or several thousand, an equity share in a hunting club, or you want to sell a piece of property, let David Fisher Land Company help. They would love the opportunity to earn your business. They've got customers all over the Southeast, so if you're looking to sell a piece of property, they might just have somebody that's looking for exactly what you've got. The website, davidfisherland.com, davidfisherland.com. You can reach out and talk to David, Jack, or Travis. They'd love to help you with whatever your land needs may be. David Fisher Land Company, davidfisherland.com. I told you yesterday about some of the listings on their website. You'll see them at davidfisherland.com. If you want to join the conversation, the C Spire text line is always open to you at 601-879-4395. A lot of messages. Mike in Gulfport says that it appears that Susie Wiles was giving information for a reason, but why? She's been working diligently in the background successfully, and this is totally out of her normal M.O., waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then Mike also says, I wonder how many cameras our universities have. There really wasn't a need in my day, but we're in a totally different age. They are everywhere, and you don't see all of them. We had the horrific incident with a young man that hanged himself on Delta State's campus. We immediately, although it took a couple of days for it all to be released and examined, but we had cameras on Delta State's campus that showed exactly what happened. They knew what happened quickly because the campus is secure and is loaded with cameras. Same thing in Oxford, same thing in Starkville. Same thing at Jackson State. But apparently not at Brown University, a place that has a $7 billion endowment. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We're back with you tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Have a great Wednesday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.